The pill bottle rolls across the hospital floor, and nobody moves to stop it. Nobody except the nurse standing in the doorway. Marion is flat on her back in the delivery bed, soaked in sweat, gripping the rails so hard her knuckles have gone white. The contractions are 60 seconds apart. Her body is working against itself. And the woman standing over her right now is not her husband. It is not her mother. It is not her friend. It is Rachel. Rachel in a red slip dress, in a maternity ward, holding a small orange prescription bottle that does not belong to her. "You need to calm down," Rachel says, her voice smooth, almost kind, which makes it worse. "Your blood pressure is through the roof. The doctor said you need to take these." Marion blinks, the monitors beep. She reaches out a shaking hand. And then the nurse steps forward. Not quickly, not loudly. She moves with a calm that does not match the room at all, and that calmness is the most terrifying thing Marion has seen since Rachel walked through that door. "Ma'am," the nurse's voice cuts across everything, the monitor, the rain hitting the window, Rachel's breathing. "Put the bottle down." Rachel turns. "Excuse me." "Put it down now." The room drops 10 degrees. Rachel's smile does not disappear, it hardens. "I'm just helping." "You are not authorized to administer any medication in this room." The nurse steps fully inside, pulling the door shut behind her. Her eyes do not leave the bottle. And that medication is not what's written on this patient's chart. Silence. Marion's chest heaves. She is watching the two women above her like she is at the bottom of a well, looking up. Her vision blurs between contractions. She hears the words, "not authorized," not what's on the chart, and her whole body goes cold. What did Rachel just try to give her? What was in that bottle? Hi viewers, before this story goes any further, I need to ask you something personal. If the person you trusted most in the world tried to hurt you at your most helpless moment, would you have the strength to stay quiet, or would you burn it all down? Drop your answer right now in the comments, and make sure you subscribe because what this nurse is about to uncover will leave your mouth open. The nurse takes the bottle from the bedside table where Rachel set it down. She reads the label. Something shifts in her face, not panic but recognition, like she has seen this before and hoped she never would again. She looks at Rachel with eyes that carry a weight Rachel clearly did not expect. "Don't leave this floor," the nurse says. Rachel laughs, a short, brittle sound. "You can't tell me what to do." "No," the nurse agrees quietly, "but they can." She pulls out a phone, not a hospital phone, a personal cell. She dials one number and turns away from both women. Marion grabs the bed rail. Another contraction tears through her, and she grits her teeth against the scream building in her throat. The baby is coming. And somehow, that is not the most dangerous thing happening in this room right now. Marion lost her mother at 9 years old. She raised herself through the silence of a father who never recovered from the grief. She learned early, earlier than any child should, that the people who smile the widest are sometimes the ones you watch the closest. She is watching Rachel right now. And everything is wrong. 3 hours earlier, Marion was alone. Gerald had kissed her forehead at 6 in the morning and said he had one quick meeting. 1 hour, maybe 2, he would be back before anything happened. She had believed him the way a woman believes the ground will hold her weight, not because she thought about it, but because what else do you do? When the contractions started at 8, she called him 4 times. 4 times the phone rang out. On the 5th try it went to voicemail and she recognized that sound. Not a dead battery. A phone switched off deliberately. She drove herself to the hospital. The intake nurse had looked at her. A woman in active labor, alone, carrying her own bag and said nothing, which was its own kind of mercy. She had been in room 7 for 2 hours when Rachel walked in. No knock. Rachel never knocked. She moved through spaces like every room had been waiting for her arrival. She came in wearing that red dress, carrying a small paper bag, wearing an expression too composed for a maternity ward. "Gerald sent me," she said. "He's caught in traffic. He asked me to check on you." The lie was so clean, so practiced, that Marian almost accepted it. Almost. But she looked at the bag in Rachel's hand, and something moved in her stomach that had nothing to do with the baby. "What's in the bag?" "Your medication. The doctor called it in." Gerald picked it up. 3 things were wrong with that sentence, and Marian could name all of them. Her doctor had not called anything in. She had been very specific about the medication list. Gerald did not go to pharmacies, and Rachel was smiling the way people smile when they know something you do not. Marian said nothing. She reached for her call button. She pressed it once, and she prayed that the person who walked through that door would see exactly what she was seeing. She had been praying versions of that prayer her whole life, praying that someone would walk into the right room at the right moment and see what she could not say out loud. Nobody had ever come in time. Not when her mother was sick and nobody believed it was serious enough. Not when her father disappeared inside his grief and she was 11 years old and completely alone. Not through any of the quiet, invisible years that followed. But today, for the first time in Marian's life, someone came. The bottle says Labetalol. The label is clean, the pharmacy stamp looks real. What the label does not say, what only someone who has spent years tracking pharmaceutical diversion would recognize from the color and size of the capsules alone, is that these are not Labetalol. Nurse Denise Carter opens the bottle in the hallway outside room 7 and tips 1 capsule into her palm. Off-white, slightly oversized, a faint coating sheen that standard Labetalol does not carry. Her stomach drops. What most people on this floor do not know, what it says nowhere on her name badge, what she has never once mentioned in 6 years of night shifts and delivery rooms, is that Denise Carter is not only a nurse. She is a DEA agent. An active, credentialed, fully commissioned Drug Enforcement Administration special agent embedded in Mercy General as part of a long-running pharmaceutical diversion operation targeting counterfeit medication networks across the Southeast. The nursing license is real. The stethoscope is real. The patients she has cared for over 6 years are real. So is the federal badge, locked in the drawer of her locker 2 floors down. She knows exactly what she is looking at. Methyl dopa, but not at a therapeutic concentration. At this level, given to a woman in active labor with elevated blood pressure, this would not stabilize Marian. It would crash her system. Blood pressure dropping too fast, too far, with a baby not yet delivered. People survive that sometimes. Not always. Denise puts the capsule back, closes the bottle, walks to the nurse's station with a face that gives nothing away and picks up her personal cell phone. DEA Field Supervisor Marcus Webb, Southeast Division. Her direct contact, her commanding officer. He picks up on the second ring. "Webb. It's Carter. I need a pharmaceutical trace in the next 20 minutes. Mercy General, Room 7, Labor and Delivery. Substituted antihypertensive, active labor patient, elevated blood pressure history. The woman who brought it in is still on the floor. I have the bottle in my hand." "A beat, you're certain on the substitution." Denise looks at the capsule between her fingers. "I held one in my hand, Marcus. I know exactly what this is." A shorter pause this time. This connected to the Montgomery network. I believe so. The woman in that room, her name is Marion Montgomery. Silence on the line. Then, do not let that woman leave the floor. Do not approach her again. I'm sending 2 agents. Carter, you did the right thing. Denise sets the phone down. She looks through the small window in the door of room 7. Marion is gripping the bed rails, breathing through a contraction, eyes fixed on the ceiling. She is alone in that room the way some people are alone their whole lives, not from lack of people nearby, but from being the only one who sees clearly what is happening. Denise knows that kind of alone. She pulls out her badge from beneath her scrubs, looks at it for 1 second and tucks it back. She pushes the door open and goes back in. There is work to do. Tasha arrives at 9:40 and walks straight past the nurse's station without stopping. She finds room 7. She pushes the door open and reads the scene in one sweep. Marion in the bed, monitors running, no Gerald. Denise posted near the door like someone on duty for reasons that have nothing to do with labor and delivery. Tasha pulls a chair up without being asked. Tell me what happened. Marion tells her, all of it. Rachel in the red dress, the pill bottle, the nurse. The 4 words that cracked Rachel's composure open. Where did you get this? Tasha listens without interrupting. When Marion finishes, Tasha is quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Then she reaches into her bag and pulls out her phone. There's something I haven't told you. I've been carrying it since February and I made the wrong call waiting this long. I know that. I'm sorry. She opens a document, long pages of it, months of careful collection. I need you to read this. Marion takes the phone. The document starts with dates, transaction records, amounts moving through accounts connected to Gerald's consulting firm that should not have been moving, names of pharmacies across 3 states, a supply chain that had been quietly gutted for nearly 3 years, real medication pulled, replaced with product sourced from overseas manufacturers with no regulatory oversight. The name appearing most frequently alongside Gerald's is not a stranger. It is Rachel's. Not as his girlfriend, as his business partner, his logistics coordinator, the one who built the network 2 full years before she introduced him to it. There is a photograph at the end. Gerald and Rachel at a restaurant taken from across the street. They are not touching. They are leaning over documents. They look like people who have been doing business together for a long time. The date on the photograph is 18 months ago. 4 months before Gerald proposed to Marion. She hands the phone back to Tasha. A contraction rolls through her, long, breathtaking, the longest one yet. She closes her eyes and rides it without making a sound. When it passes, she opens her eyes and says, "Does he know you have this?" "No." "Good." She reaches for the call button. "I need the nurse." She does not cry. She does not shake. She presses the button and waits, and the monitor tracks her baby's heartbeat, strong, steady, completely unbothered by the world coming apart around him. If you are still watching this and you have never told someone the truth because you were afraid of what it would do to them, this is your sign. The silence always costs more than the truth. Always. Drop a comment if you know exactly what I mean. Gerald walks into Mercy General at 10:17 with a coffee and a prepared face. He has been building prepared faces his whole life. He has a specific one ready for Marion right now, warm but not excessive, sorry but not desperate, present in the way of a man who is late but still shows up. He has run through it twice in the elevator. He steps onto the 3rd floor. He sees the 2 men outside room 7 before he has taken 3 steps. He knows what they are without a word being spoken. He has spent nearly 3 years studying federal investigation work from the outside, learning its edges, building his operation around them. He knows the posture, the plain clothes that are too deliberate, the way both men turn toward him at exactly the same moment. His coffee tilts, hot liquid runs across his fingers. He does not feel it. The taller one walks toward him, Mr. Montgomery. Gerald's mouth opens, nothing comes out. Agent Webb, DEA. This is Agent Torres. We need to speak with you. Gerald looks past them at the closed door of room 7. He looks at it the way a man looks at something he knows he has already lost. My wife is in labor, he says. We know, Webb says. This won't take long. They take him to the family waiting room. Plastic chairs. A vending machine humming in the corner. Fluorescent light that makes everything look a little worse than it already is. Webb lays it out in flat, precise language. The supply chain, the pharmacies, 31 months of documented diversion, the counterfeit product, the overseas manufacturers, Rachel not as a girlfriend but as the architect, the one who recruited Gerald and ran the logistics from the start. And then Webb sets a photograph on the table. The pill bottle from room 7, evidence-tagged now, sealed in a clear bag. Your associate entered your wife's room this morning and attempted to administer a substituted medication to a woman in active labor. Webb's voice does not change. At the concentration in that bottle, the outcome could have been catastrophic for your wife, for your child. Gerald stares at the bag. He wants to say he did not know. He wants to say Rachel acted alone, that this was never part of anything he agreed to, that even he has a line. But the words will not form because he already knows, and Webb clearly knows, that the moment he stopped asking questions about what Rachel was doing, the line stopped being real. Down the hall, his son is about to arrive in the world. Gerald is not going to be in that room. That is the part that will follow him longest through everything that comes after. Not the charges, not the years. The moment he understood he would not be in that room. Rachel sits in the corridor chair and does not move. The agents walked past her twice without speaking. Denise walked past once and looked at her, not with anger, not with satisfaction, with something Rachel could not name. She stares at the floor. She built the network from scratch, started with 2 pharmacies and a manufacturer contact from a conference 8 years ago. She was good at it, the systems, the timing, the management of risk. She had a mind for logistics, always had. And when legitimate systems would not let her in, she built her own. She had rules. She always had rules. The substitutions targeted medications with wide therapeutic windows, drugs where a counterfeit could pass without immediately catastrophic results. Never anything high stakes. She had trusted Gerald to hold that line with Marion's prescription. She had not checked because she had not wanted to know. That is the truth she cannot make smaller than it is. Denise stops in front of her. Rachel looks up. Whatever got you here, Denise says quietly, it didn't start today. Rachel's jaw tightens. Don't. I'm not defending anything. I'm just saying the path that leads a person to this corridor, it started somewhere. And wherever it started, today is where it ends. She walks away. Behind her, Rachel's composed face cracks. Just once. A flash of something real, not guilt exactly, but the expression of someone who has been seen clearly for the first time in a long time and does not know how to hold it. She presses her hands flat against her knees. She has been telling herself for 2 years that Marion was the obstacle, the thing between her and something she wanted. She built an entire story where Marion was the problem and she was just someone trying to survive. Sitting in this corridor now, she understands for the first time that Marion was never the problem. She was. The door to room 7 opens. A sound comes out of it that moves through the entire floor. The baby arrives at 12:47 in the afternoon. 7 pounds 4 ounces. He announces himself with a cry that reaches every closed door on that floor. The agents in the waiting room go still. Gerald, in a plastic chair at the end of the hall, closes his eyes. Rachel, in her corridor chair, presses the back of her hand to her mouth. Inside room 7, Marion holds her son against her chest. She looks at his face, the tight fists, the dark curls already damp at his temples, the way he is already trying to open his eyes like he has somewhere important to be. And she says his name out loud for the first time. Marcus. The name she chose alone. The name she had always wanted and never used because Gerald always had opinions about everything. Tasha is crying openly. She gave up hiding it 20 minutes ago. Denise checks the monitors, notes the readings, looks at Marion with the steady eyes of someone who has just helped carry an impossible morning to its best possible outcome. He's perfect, Denise says. You both are. Marion nods. She does not trust her voice yet. She looks at Marcus and she feels the full weight of what is waiting outside this room, the legal process, the public record, the years of rebuilding. She feels all of it settle onto her shoulders. And then she looks at his face and makes the decision she will never unmake. She will not let any of it touch him, not yet, not while she can stand between him and it. She presses her lips to the top of his head. I've got you, she says, just for him. Whatever happens out there, I've got you. The monitor beeps, steady, strong. Agent Webb knocks on the door an hour later. He waits. He does not come in until she tells him to. You're not implicated in anything, he says. Your accounts were separate. Nothing Gerald did touches you legally. Marion nods. What about Rachel? She's cooperating fully. Marion looks down at Marcus. Good, she says. She should. 2 days later, Rachel asks to see Marion. The request comes through Denise. Marion almost says no. She rehearses saying no several times. She has every reason in the world to say no. She says yes. Rachel comes in without the red dress, without the composure that moved through rooms like weather. She is wearing a lost and found sweater 2 sizes too big. She looks smaller than Marion has ever seen her look. She does not sit until Marion points at the chair. I wasn't going to let you die, Rachel says immediately. I need you to know that. What you gave me could have killed me, Marion says. Rachel's jaw tightens. I know. Then what you're telling me is that you did not care whether I lived or died, which is worse than if you had meant it. Rachel has no answer. Her hands press and release against her knees. He told me you didn't want the baby, she says finally, so quietly it is barely a sound. He told me you were planning to leave him and take everything. He said you were already talking to a lawyer. She stops. I believed him because I wanted to, because if you were the villain then I wasn't. The room goes very quiet. Marion looks at this woman, frightened, reckless, entirely human, and feels something she did not expect. Not forgiveness, not warmth, but recognition. The specific recognition of someone who was lied to by the same man in the same careful voice and chose to believe it because the alternative was too hard to face. He is very good at that, Marion says. Rachel's eyes fill. She does not let it break. Yes. You are going to tell everything you know to the agents. Every name, every route, all of it. I already am. Good, Marion looks at Rachel one last time. Don't mistake this for absolution, but I hope you find your way out. Rachel stands, nods once, leaves. The door closes. Marion breathes out for what feels like the first time in days. If this story is hitting you somewhere real right now, if you have ever stayed silent when someone was building a lie around you, share this with one person who needs to hear it today. One person. That is all it takes to change something. There is a man named Daniel Oss who has been trying to reach Marion for 6 weeks. He is not a lawyer. He does not carry himself like someone who needs to announce anything. He and Marion have known each other since college, built over years of small, honest moments, the kind that do not need an audience. He had been there through everything: the death of her mother, the years her father went quiet, the long stretch of rebuilding herself from nothing. He had been the person who sat with her in the library at 2 in the morning when she could not focus and said nothing useful and was exactly right about that. Then Gerald arrived, and Daniel quietly, without bitterness, or at least without showing it, stepped back. He came to the wedding. He shook Gerald's hand. He sent a gift when the pregnancy was announced. He had also, 6 weeks ago, come across Gerald's name in a federal procurement audit. He was reviewing for his position at the Health and Human Services Office of Inspector General. He had tried to reach Marion. She had not returned his calls. He had assumed she was deep in the pregnancy. He had not assumed she was in danger. Tasha called him on her way to the hospital that morning. He had been in the lobby since 9. Now he sits in the chair Tasha pulled forward in room 7, and he looks at Marion holding Marcus, and he does not say everything he is feeling because this is not the moment for it, and he knows exactly when a moment is not his. "I have the audit report," he says, "and a preliminary federal flag filed 8 weeks ago, and something else, a note from a contact inside the DEA Southeast office. Informal, saying anyone connected to Gerald should be prepared for what was coming." He sets the documents on the bed beside her. Marion reads them without rushing. He watches her face. It does not change. Not once. He has always known she was the strongest person he knew. Watching her read the full record of her husband's operation while holding a 2-day-old baby confirms it in a way he wishes were not necessary. "Daniel," she says without looking up. "Yeah. I'm glad you came." He does not say anything. He nods. And the thing between them, 6 years of careful distance, of stepping back, of waiting, sits in the room quietly, doing what it has always done. Earning its time. 6 months later, on a Tuesday morning, Marion sits at a desk in the apartment she rented with money from an account Gerald never touched, and writes 3 letters she will never send. She writes to her mother first. She tells her about the hospital room, the pill bottle, the nurse who moved like someone trained to stop exactly this kind of thing. She tells her about Marcus, his dark curls, his tight fists, the way he already turns toward light whenever it changes in a room, like he knows instinctively to move toward good things. She writes, "I almost wasn't here to write this, and I want you to know I understand now what you meant. The truth always finds a room. It found mine. On the worst day I could have imagined, in the last person I expected." She writes to Gerald next. Shorter. She tells him, "I do not hate you. Hatred is a weight and I am carrying Marcus and I need my hands free. But I want you to know that everything you built with her, that entire structure, it failed the moment one honest person was in the right room. One person, Gerald. That is all it ever takes." She writes to Rachel last. She does not know if this is forgiveness. It might be something smaller. A door opened just enough to let air through. She writes, "I meant what I said. I hope you find what you were actually afraid of, because it was never me." She folds all 3 letters, places them in a box on the shelf. She goes to the window. Daniel's car is pulling up outside. He comes on Saturday mornings now. He brings coffee. He does not stay longer than she wants, and he has never once made her feel like she owes him anything for any of it. He gets out of the car. He looks up. She is at the window, and he raises one hand, a small, easy wave between two people who do not need to perform anything for each other. She raises hers back. Marcus makes a sound from the next room, the specific one that means he is awake and has strong opinions about it. She goes to him. She picks him up and he stops immediately, because she is the thing that makes things okay for him, and she knows it, and she holds that knowledge like the most important thing she has ever been trusted with. She carried herself out of a childhood with nothing but nerve and silence. She survived a marriage built on lies, a hospital room built on danger, and a morning that should have ended everything. She is still here. Marcus grabs her finger in his fist and holds on. And Marion thinks, my mother was right. The truth always finds a room. She just had to be strong enough to still be in it when it arrived. That is the whole story. And it is finally enough. If this story moved you, if you have ever been the most helpless person in the room and had to find strength anyway, leave a comment and tell us. What is the one thing Marion did that you would have struggled most to do yourself? Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you are not subscribed yet, the next story is even heavier than this one. You do not want to miss it.